Well, good afternoon. I'm Lance Davis, Executive Officer of the Academy of Engineering, and I have the honor to introduce you to the members of the class of 2013. Now, we're proud to have them as members, but we're also proud of our longtime members. And in the induction book in the back, you will see a list of anniversary members, and I want to welcome those who are able to be here with us today who are reaching a noteworthy anniversary. And I wonder if I could ask them to stand as I read their name. For 35 years, Bill Lang and Tom Everhart. For 25, Richard Alkier. Bill Ballhouse Jr., Edward Cording, Marvin Jensen, James Giersa, John Mason, Dan Moat, who's already standing, Bob Neeram, Jay Tinsley Oden, Frank Parker, Bill Spencer, Neil Tudreas, and Ward Weiner. So. Now, I want to welcome you to this handsomely redone building. We missed it for the 2009 to 2011 annual meetings. It was nice to be back here last year and to be here this year. This is actually one of the very few buildings on a national mall which is privately held, which is a very good thing, because otherwise, with Congress doing its own rendition of holding its breath and turning blue, or in this case, turning red, there would be a padlock on the door. And on such short notice, we would be having this meeting out on 21st Street, catered by the street vendors. Now, those of you who frequently attend these annual meetings know that I call the members and foreign associates to check their and proudly pronounce their name, and this year was no exception. Now, if there's sudden tightening in the back of your throat as you think, uh-oh, he should have called me, I would point out that most likely I talked to your answering machine or your assistant, so you should be covered. The other thing I'd like to note, for those of you who are sitting there saying, you know, where did he get that tie? I would like to point out that it's become something of a tradition that I wear this green tie. There's a long story behind that, but it's too long to get into right now. Now, after doing one of these events a few years ago, one of the new members came up to me and told me about a linguistics professor they once had. And on the first day of class, he called out the names of the students and asked them if that was how they pronounced their names. When a few said no, he essentially flashed his credentials and said, well, I pronounce it the way it should be pronounced if your family hadn't garbled it. So you'll be happy to know I don't take that stance. I will try to pronounce it the way you pronounce it, and we'll see how that goes. Now, names are one thing, and affiliations are another, and I probably should pay more attention to the affiliations. Last year, all universities with the initials UC were the University of California, regardless of whether they were in Colorado, and all UW universities were located in the same state, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. Now, our members who are obsessed with geography, of course, told me about that. Now, please follow your program. You'll know the right one, irrespective of what I say. So this is a terrific occasion. We are going to acknowledge excellence in engineering. We are celebrating the marvelous contributions that engineers have made in research and developing innovations in engineering education, in developing novel technologies and designing solutions for real-world problems. This is your payoff for spending endless hours working in the classroom, in the laboratory, and on the road to reach the top of the engineering profession. It's your reward for persistence in the face of skepticism. It's your reward for being a multitasker par excellence. If you've been reading the citations in the induction booklet, you probably recognize they're like something out of a Star Trek movie, but I promise you we're not making this stuff up. Engineering is a marvelously creative enterprise, and the citations reflect that creativity. Engineering improves the human condition. That's a message we constantly try to convey to old and young. Now, in a moment, I'll introduce the new members, but I do want to acknowledge that there are 8 new members this year from Stanford University, which is probably some kind of record. Now, this did not happen without controversy. An institution to the northeast of here, which shall go unnamed, suggested this was some sort of West Coast conspiracy to dislodge them as the home of the most NAE members. I'm told they haven't been this upset since they lost the Big Bang Theory to Caltech, which for those of you who don't indulge in TV is a television show, not the theory itself. So what I'm about to do is read the name, affiliation, and election citation for each of the new members and foreign associates while they come up to the stage. I would remind them, the members of the class, to queue up along the aisle to my left, at least a few people in advance of your name being called. After I read your name, come up the stairs to my left, pass in front of the podium to join our chairman and our president to receive your membership certificate and pose for a photograph. and then proceed to our Home Secretary or our Foreign Secretary to sign the NAE register. And please do stop to sign the register. We had to track people down last year because they zipped right past the table. And let me emphasize, I'm going to read the names of the members first and the foreign associates second. And I should also point out that there are a few people who couldn't be with us, and I won't read all their names. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, Mr. Home Secretary, Mr. Foreign Secretary, it's my pleasure to present to you the members of the class of 2013. So our members... Now, this is actually a bit of a first. Usually when I say line up by the side, there's a rush. Immediately, this is a little bit lower. So we'll wait for our first member to get down here. Jam. This is the first time. Okay. So let me read the name of our first new member, and hopefully he will appear out of this mass of people. Mr. Paul R. Adams, Chief Operating Officer, Pratt & Whitney, for leadership and innovation and for gas turbine engines, especially the geared turbofan. Yeah, okay. Sonia? Anand Agarwal, President edX, for contribution to shared memory and multi-core computer architectures. Dr. James M. Anderson, Distinguished University Professor of Pathology, Macromolecular Science, and Biomedical Engineering, Department of Pathology, Case Western Reserve University, for contribution to understanding tissue biomaterials interactions for designing and testing medical devices. Dr. Peter L. Andresen, Principal Scientist, Corrosion and Electrochemistry Laboratory, Ceramics and Metallurgy Technology, GE Global Research Center, for prediction and prevention of stress corrosion, cracking, in nuclear materials. Dr. Joseph J. Beeman, Jr., Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Cockrell School of Engineering, University of Texas at Austin, for innovation, development, and commercialization of solid freeform fabrication and selective laser sintering. Dr. Murthy P. Bavaraju, Senior Consultant, PGM Interconnection for Probabilistic Reliability Evaluation Tools for Large Electrical Power Systems. Dr. Lawrence T. Larry Biegler, Bayer Professor of Chemical Engineering Department at Carnegie Mellon University, for contributions in large-scale nonlinear optimization theory and algorithms for application to process optimization, design, and control. Professor Donna G. Blackman, Professor of Chemistry at the Scripps Research Institute for Kinetic and Mechanistic Studies of Catalytic Organic Reactions for Pharmaceuticals and for Studies of Chiral Amplification. Professor Dawn A. Bunnell, Vice Provost for Research and Trustee Professor, Material Science and Engineering Department, University of Pennsylvania, for the development of atomic resolution surface probes and for institutional leadership in nanoscience. Professor Craig T. Tom Bowman, Professor of Mechanical Engineering Department, Stanford University, for contribution to understanding pollutant formation processes and combustion systems to reduce harmful emissions. Ms. Ursula M. Burns, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Xerox Corporation, for technical and business leadership of the renaissance of a global services and technology company. Dr. Robert S. Chow, Intel Senior Fellow, Intel Corporation, for contributions to CMOS transistor technologies for advanced logic circuit products. Professor Weng C. Chu, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, for contributions to large-scale computational electromagnetics of complex structures. Dr. Stephen L. Crouch, Dean, College of Science and Engineering, University of Minnesota, Minneapolis, for contributions into simulation methodology for the behavior of fractured rock masses. Dr. Thomas F. Degnan, Jr., Manager, Breakthrough and New Leads Generation, ExxonMobil Research and Engineering Company, for contributions to novel catalytic processes for improved lubricant, fuel, and petrochemical production. Professor Gregory G. Dearline, J.A. Bloom Professor of Engineering, Civil Environmental Engineering Department, Stanford University, for development of advanced structural analysis and design techniques and their implementation in design codes. Professor David L. Dill, Professor of Computer Science, Stanford University, for the development of techniques to verify hardware, software, and electronic voting systems. Dr. David A. Dornfeld, Will C. Hall Family Professor of Engineering and Director Laboratory for Manufacturing and Sustainability, Department of Mechanical Engineering, University of California, Berkeley, for contributions to sustainability in advanced manufacturing, sensors, and precision material processing. Dr. Abbas L. Gamal, Chair, Electrical Engineering Department and Hitachi America Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering, Stanford University, for contributions in information theory, information technology, and image sensors. Admiral James O. Ellis, Jr., United States Navy retired, President and Chief Executive Officer, Institute of Nuclear Power Operations, for leadership in advancing safe nuclear power plant operations throughout the world. Professor Charbel Farhat, Vivian Church Hoff Professor of Aircraft Structures, Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics, Stanford University, for contributions to computing fluid structure interactions and their applications to aeronautical, naval, and mechanical engineering. Okay. I believe that our next person is not with us. We hadn't actually gotten any feedback from him, so that you can flash up, go to the next person and then the next one. Okay, thank you. Professor Eric R. Fossum, Professor of Engineering, Thayer School of Engineering, Dartmouth College, for inventing and developing the CMOS active pixel image sensor and camera on a chip. Professor Curtis W. Frank, W.M. Keck, Senior Professor of Chemical Engineering, Department of Chemical Engineering, Stanford University, for elucidation of molecular organization in polymers and other soft materials. Dr. Ashok J. Gadgil, Division Director and Faculty Senior Scientist, Environmental Energy Technologies Division, University of California, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory for Engineering Solutions to the Problems of Potable Water and Energy in Underdeveloped Nations. Mr. David Goodyear, Chief Bridge Engineer and Senior Vice President, T.Y. Lin International, for leadership in concrete, segmental, cable-stayed, and hybrid bridge design and construction. Ms. Helen Grainer, Chief Executive Officer, Sci-Fi Works Incorporated, for leadership in the design, development, and application of practical robots. Dr. David H. Gustafson, Professor Emeritus of Industrial and Systems Engineering and Director of the Center for Health Enhancement Systems Studies, University of Wisconsin-Madison, for industrial and systems engineering methods to improve the care of aging, lung cancer, severe asthma, and drug addiction patients. Dr. R. John Hansman, Jr., T. Wilson Professor of Aeronautics and Astronautics and Director of the MIT International Center for Air Transportation, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for development of aviation display and alerting systems for air safety. Dr. Eli Harari, founder, retired chairman, and CEO of the SanDisk Corporation for technology advances of commercial flash memory systems. Professor Joseph P. Harriman, Ohio eminent scholar and professor, Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, The Ohio State University, for discoveries in thermal energy transfer and conversion to electricity and for commercial devices employed in automobiles. Dr. Maurice P. Herlihy, Professor of Computer Science Department, Brown University, for concurrent computing technologies for linearizability, non-blocking data structures, and transactional memory. Dr. Eric Horvitz, Distinguished Scientist and Co-Director, Microsoft Research, for computational mechanisms for decision-making under uncertainty and with bounded resources. Mr. John R. Huff, Chairman, Oceaneering International Incorporated, for contributions to the development of remotely operated vehicles for deepwater oil and gas operations. Dr. Ganesh Kalasam, Vice President, Research and Development at Dow Chemical Company, for development of processes for production of high-performance polymers, including polyether imides. Dr. Edward Kavazanjian, Ira Fulton Professor of Geotechnical Engineering, School of Sustainable Engineering in the Built Environment, Arizona State University, for geotechnical engineering for municipal solid waste management, earthquake hazard mitigation, and safety of transportation facilities. Dr. John E. Kelly III, Senior Vice President and Director of Research, Watson Research Center, International Business Machines Corporation, for contributions to the U.S. semiconductor industry through technology innovations and strategic leadership. Professor Carl C. Cook, Kobe Steele Distinguished Professor of Material Science and Engineering Department at North Carolina State University, for synthesis of amorphous and nanocrystalline alloys by mechanical attrition. Dr. Charles E. Cole, President and Chief Executive Officer of Aerodyne Research Incorporated, for instruments that advance measurements of air pollution and aerosols. Professor Vijay Kumar, UPS Foundation Professor, School of Engineering and Applied Sciences, University of Pennsylvania, for contributions in cooperative robotics, networked vehicles, and unmanned aerial vehicles, and for leadership in robotics research and education. Dr. Enrique J. Lavernia, Dean, College of Engineering, University of California, Davis, for contributions to novel processing of metals and alloys and for leadership in engineering education. Dr. Raphael C. Lee, Paul S. and Aline T. Russell, Professor of Surgery, University of Chicago, for contribution to understanding cell injury associated with trauma, including electrical shock and thermal burns. Dr. Cam W. Leong, James B. Duke Professor, Department of Biomedical Engineering, Duke University, for contributions to engineered drug delivery and non-viral mediated gene delivery. Professor James C. Liao, Ralph M. Parsons Foundation Professor and Chair, Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering Department, University of California, Los Angeles, for advances in metabolic engineering of microorganisms to produce fuels and chemicals. Dr. Bruce E. Logan, Cappy Professor of Environmental Engineering, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Pennsylvania State University, for microbial electrochemical technologies for wastewater treatment and sustainable energy generation. Dr. Gerald H. Luttrell, E. Morgan Massey Professor, Department of Mining and Minerals Engineering, Virginia Tech, for advancing separation technologies for the mineral and coal industries. Dr. Edward W. Merrill, C.P. Dubs Professor of Chemical Engineering Emeritus, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for contributions to biocompatible materials, biorheology, and biomedical engineering education. The Honorable Arthur L. Money, former Assistant Secretary of Defense, U.S. Department of Defense, for engineering developments and technical leadership in support of U.S. national security efforts. Dr. John A. Montgomery, Director of Research, U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, for leading the Navy's Electronic Warfare Technical Authority and for developing critical operational systems. Professor Juje M.F. Mora, University Professor, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Carnegie Mellon University, for contributions to the theory and practice of statistical signal processing. Dr. Richard M. Murray, Thomas E. and Doris Everhart Professor of Control and Dynamical Systems and Bioengineering, California Institute of Technology, for contributions in control theory and network control systems with applications to aerospace engineering, robotics, and autonomy. Dr. M. Allen Northrop, Principal, Northrop Consulting Group, for miniaturization and commercialization of gene amplification and immunosensor technology. Professor Michael Ortiz, Frank and Ora Lee Marble Professor of Aeronautics and Mechanical Engineering, California Institute of Technology, for contributions to computational mechanics to advance the underpinnings of solid mechanics. Professor Thomas J. Overby, Fox Family Professor, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, for the integration of visualization and analysis tools for power systems. Dr. Robin Podmore, President, Inksys, for development of modeling and simulation tools for power system operation. Dr. Stephen R. Quake, investigator, Howard Hughes Medical Institute, and Lee Otterson Professor, Departments of Bioengineering and Applied Physics, Stanford University, for achievements in single-cell analysis and large-scale integration of microfluidic devices. Dr. Robert E. Shafrick, Executive Engineering, Aviation Engineering Division, General Electric Aviation, for innovation in materials for gas turbine engines. Mr. Jan C. Schilling, Chief Engineer, Advanced Products, General Electric Aviation, for advancing technology for modern turbofan engines. Professor Balraj Sehgal, Emeritus Professor of Nuclear Power Safety, Department of Physics, Alba Nova University Center, KTH Royal Institute of Technology, for contributions to predicting accident behavior of nuclear reactor systems. Professor Eric S.G. Shackfey, Lester Levi Carter Professor and Department Chair, Chemical Engineering Department, Stanford University, for contributions to dynamics and rheology of complex fluids, including polymeric fluids, vesicles, and fiber suspensions. Dr. Pradeep S. Sinhu, Vice Chairman, Founder, and CTO, Juniper Networks, for contributions to technology and commercialization of Internet protocol routing. Dr. Chris P. Singh, President and Chief Executive Officer of Holtec International, for engineering and business leadership for increased power plant efficiency and improved safety of spent nuclear fuel storage worldwide. Dr. William A. Thornton, Corporate Consultant, Surveys Engineering Corporation, for rational methods of designing steel connections and for leadership in steel building design. Mr. Rex W. Tillerson, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, ExxonMobil Corporation, for engineering leadership in the production of hydrocarbons in remote and hostile environments. Dr. John J. Tracy, Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President, Engineering, Operations, and Technology, The Boeing Company, for leadership in advanced composites design and manufacturing technology for air and space vehicles. Dr. Sharon L. Wood, Robert L. Parker Senior Centennial Professor, Department of Civil, Architectural, and Environmental Engineering, the University of Texas at Austin, for design of reinforced concrete structures and associated seismic instrumentation for extreme loadings and environments. Mr. Ken QZ, Founder, President, and Chief Executive Officer of Fortinet Incorporated, for contributions to cybersecurity, including network security systems and services. Dr. Elias A. Zerhouni, President, Global R&D at Sanofi, for non-invasive MRI technologies for complex tissues and for national leadership in translational medical research. Now we have to make one transition here while Venki comes to the stage so he can handle the signing of the register for the foreign associates. So we should move to the next slide. Okay. Dr. John A. Cherry, Distinguished Professor Emeritus, University of Waterloo, and Adjunct Professor, University of Guelph, for contributions to understanding contaminant migration and development of engineered systems for groundwater remediation. Professor Richard H. Friend, Cavendish Professor of Physics, Cavendish Laboratory, University of Cambridge, for contributions to science, engineering, and commercialization of organic polymer semiconductor devices. Mr. H. David Hibbett, retired Chairman, Abacus Incorporated, for creation and development of the Abacus Finite Element Code for nonlinear structural analysis and its worldwide dissemination. Urs Holsley, Senior Vice President for Technical Infrastructure, Google Incorporated, for contributions to the design, operation, and energy efficiency of large-scale data centers. Professor Shlomo Shammai, Distinguished Professor, Department of Electrical Engineering, Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, for contributions to information theory for wireless communication technology. Mr. Ratan N. Tata, Chairman Emeritus, Tata Sons Limited, and Chairman of the Tata Trust, for outstanding contribution to industrial development in India and the world. Please. Dr. Henrik Topsoe, Executive Vice President of Howder Topsoe AS, for development of hydrodesulfurization catalysts and elucidation of their active sites. Professor Matthias Uhlin, Professor and Director of Science for Life Laboratory School of Biotechnology, KTH Royal Institute of Technology, for invention and commercialization of protein A chromatography, HT DNA sequencing, and the Human Protein Atlas. Professor Z.K. Chung, Vice President, Chinese Academy of Engineering, for understanding coal molecular structure and its reactivity, and for leadership in the modern clean coal conversion industry. And Dr. Zhu Ji, President of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, for research contributions in numeric control, computer-aided design, and design optimization. And Professor Zhu could not be with us. Okay. So once again, a round of applause for all the new members. Now, I have one brief housekeeping note. For any member in the audience who was unable to attend their induction ceremony and didn't have an opportunity to sign the NAE register, we'd appreciate it if you come up during the break and sign that. The other thing I'd like to ask the new members and foreign associates to go out to the Constitution Avenue entrance where they'll have a class picture taken. And if the audience could give them a moment to get out of the auditorium first, that'd be very nice. They usually don't, but this would be a precedent if you did. And the last thing, of course, is the anniversary members who are here. We'd also like to have a picture for them. So what time do we start again? So now we will break, and we will let you know when to start when we flash the lights out in the hall.